She thought her secret affair was safe. Until her husband found that message. Face screaming in fear, broken heart, true revenge. Husband discovers wife's secret text mobile phone. He let her think she was safe. Then destroyed her entire life. Face screaming in fear. My wife said she was working late. I believed her. Then I saw a message from her colleague, "You're so hot, I can't wait for our night." She thought I would never find out. She didn't know I had already put all the pieces together. Sarah and I met at a charity gala in Boston 8 years ago. The moment I saw her confidently working the room in her emerald dress, collecting donations for children's education, I knew she was different. 5 years of marriage later, I still believed we had something special. I was building our future, working 60-hour weeks at my software company, dreaming of the family we'd have. The house in Cambridge we bought together was supposed to be where our kids would grow up. "Rob, you know how important this campaign is," she'd say, kissing me on the cheek before heading out for another late night at Preston and Mills Marketing. I'd watch her check her reflection in the hallway mirror, adjusting her blazer with practiced precision. The Riverside account could make my career. I supported her ambitions completely. When she started staying late at the office 3 nights a week, I'd have dinner waiting when she got home. When she began traveling for client meetings, I'd drive her to Logan Airport at dawn, coffee in hand. The proud husband, always understanding, always there. The changes were subtle at first. Her phone started living face down on every surface. The gentle buzz of incoming messages during dinner, which she'd ignore with a tight smile. The way she'd step onto our back deck for calls, wrapping her arms against the New England chill. The mysterious work trips that seemed to multiply on her calendar like rabbits. "Just a quick overnight in New York," she'd say, packing her overnight bag with careful deliberation. "The client wants to finalize the strategy in person." I believed her. Until the night I didn't. It was a Sunday evening in October, the kind where early darkness creeps in and the maple leaves skitter across our driveway like whispered secrets. Sarah was upstairs showering after her morning run, the one that had somehow taken 3 hours. Her phone lit up on the kitchen counter. "You were incredible yesterday. Missing you already." The message preview glowed accusingly under the name Mark, Office. The world didn't stop. The coffee maker kept gurgling. The neighbor's dog kept barking. But something inside me went very, very quiet. I could have confronted her right then. Could have stormed upstairs, demanding answers while steam still fogged the bathroom mirror. But a different kind of cold clarity took over. If she wanted to play this game, I would play it better. I took a photo of the message with my own phone, then deliberately went back to making breakfast as if I'd seen nothing. When she came downstairs in her running clothes, hair too perfectly styled for someone who'd supposedly been exercising, I kissed her cheek and asked about her workout. That night, after she fell asleep, I began my research. Mark wasn't just from the office. Mark was Mark Preston, the Preston, in Preston and Mills. Married to Caroline Preston, 3 kids, house in Brookline. He and Sarah had started their affair 6 months ago, right around the time she got promoted to creative director. The promotion I'd celebrated with champagne, proud of my brilliant wife. The pieces started falling into place. The client meetings at the Four Seasons. The weekend strategy sessions that required her to be unreachable. The new lingerie receipts on our shared credit card, items I'd never seen her wear. But revenge is a dish best served with precision. I spent 2 weeks gathering evidence, building my case like the most meticulous prosecutor. Credit card statements showing hotel charges. Screenshots of their messaging history, buried in a hidden folder on her laptop. Security camera footage from our driveway showing her leaving at odd hours. Even photos from the company's social media, where their body language at office events told its own damning story. Then I orchestrated their downfall like a chess master setting up checkmate. First move, an anonymous email to Caroline Preston, containing a carefully curated selection of evidence. Dates, times, photographs. Enough to be devastating, but not enough to reveal my hand. Second move, a detailed report to Preston and Mills Board of Directors about the ethical violations of their CEO having an affair with a direct report. The company's morality clause in executive contracts was very specific about this kind of behavior. Third move, documentation to our divorce attorney showing how Sarah had misused company funds and our joint accounts to finance her affair, complete with spreadsheets tracking every illicit rendezvous. I waited until everything was in motion before making my final move. On a Tuesday morning, I called Sarah's office. "Mrs. Turner isn't available," her assistant said nervously. "She's in a meeting with HR." "I know," I replied, and hung up. When she came home that evening, her designer handbag clutched like a shield, her face had the waxy pallor of someone watching their world crumble. "What did you do?" she whispered. I was sitting at our kitchen island, calm as still water, a stack of papers placed precisely before me. "I didn't do anything, Sarah. These are your choices. Your actions. Your consequences." Her hands trembled as she flipped through the evidence. 8 years of trust, reduced to damning photographs and financial records. "Robert, please," she started. "We can fix." "There's nothing to fix." I stood up, straightening my tie. "The board voted this morning. You're terminated, effective immediately. Mark's resignation was accepted an hour ago. Caroline's divorce attorney has already filed the paperwork." I smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "Oh, and our account has been frozen pending the divorce proceedings. I'd start looking for a new place to live." The color drained from her face as each blow landed. "You planned all of this?" "No, Sarah. You did. I just made sure everyone saw the truth." 2 months later, I sat in my lawyer's office, signing the final divorce papers. Sarah's carefully constructed life had shattered like fine china on concrete. No job, her reputation in the industry was toxic. No lover, Mark had thrown her under the bus, trying desperately to save his own marriage. No friends, they'd all chosen sides, and they hadn't chosen hers. The last time I saw her, she was leaving a Starbucks in downtown Crossing, clutching a paper cup like a lifeline. The confident stride was gone. The designer clothes replaced by department store basics. She looked up, saw me, and froze. I walked past without a word. Some say living well is the best revenge. But I disagree. The best revenge is watching someone lose everything they took for granted, knowing they did it to themselves. Sarah's phone still sits in my desk drawer sometimes. Every now and then, I take it out and look at that message that started it all. "You were incredible yesterday. Missing you already." I wonder if it was worth it for her. I wonder if she ever thinks about the life she threw away. But mostly, I don't think about her at all. I've moved on, or at least that's what I tell myself. The house in Cambridge is sold, too many memories haunting those hardwood floors. I bought a modern condo in Back Bay instead, all clean lines and fresh starts. The doorman greets me by name, and none of my neighbors know my story. It's better that way. Sometimes, late at night, I scroll through our old photos. Sarah and I in Nantucket, wind whipping her hair as we walked along the beach. Our anniversary dinner at L'Espalier, her eyes sparkling in the candlelight as she talked about our future. The Christmas party where she charmed my entire development team, making even the most introverted programmers laugh with her quick wit. Those memories feel like scenes from someone else's life now. The company grapevine keeps me informed, even though I never ask. Sarah found a job at a small agency in Providence, a major step down from her prestigious position at Preston and Mills. Mark's marriage survived, barely, though Caroline made him sign a post-nuptial agreement that would leave him penniless if he ever strayed again. Their oldest daughter refused to speak to him for months. The scandal rocked Boston's marketing circle for weeks. People love watching the mighty fall, especially when they deserve it. Every detail was dissected over martinis at Oak Lawn Bar, whispered about during networking events at the Liberty Hotel. Sarah's name became synonymous with cautionary tales about office affairs. I didn't participate in the gossip. I didn't need to. My silence spoke volumes. The divorce settlement was brutal for her. My lawyers were thorough in documenting how she'd used our joint funds to finance her affair. The judge was unsympathetic to her tears. In the end, she walked away with barely enough to start over. My friends tried to set me up on dates a few months later. You need to get back out there, they'd say, showing me profiles on dating apps or suggesting dinner with their perpetually single cousins. I went on a few dates to appease them. Coffee at Tat Bakery. Drinks at Yvonne's. Dinner at Sorolina. But my heart wasn't in it. Not yet. Instead, I threw myself into work. The software company flourished under my renewed focus. We landed major contracts, expanded our team, moved to larger offices overlooking the Charles River. Success is its own kind of healing. One rainy Tuesday, about a year after everything fell apart, I ran into Caroline Preston at Whole Foods in Brookline. She was studying organic apples when she saw me, her cart blocking the aisle. "Robert," she said softly, a complicated mix of emotions crossing her face. I nodded, unsure what to say to the woman who had received that first devastating email from me, the one that had started the dominoes falling. "I never thanked you," she continued, her voice steady, "for telling me the truth. It was better to know." "Everyone deserves the truth," I replied. She glanced at her wedding ring, twisting it absently. "Mark's different now. Actually present. Actually trying. Sometimes it takes losing everything to appreciate what you have." I thought about Sarah, about her new life in Providence, about all the dreams we'd had that would never come true. Sometimes, I agreed, losing everything is exactly what someone deserves. Caroline's eyes met mine, understanding passing between us. Two people whose lives had been shattered by the same betrayal, who had picked up the pieces in different ways. "Take care of yourself, Robert." "You too, Caroline." I watched her walk away, designer boots clicking on the polished floor, head held high despite everything. She had chosen to rebuild. Sarah had chosen to destroy. We all live with our choices. That night, I finally deleted the photo of that message from my phone. "You were incredible yesterday. Missing you already." The words that had changed everything. I didn't need it anymore. The next morning, I woke up early and went for a run along the esplanade. The sun was rising over the river, painting the water in shades of gold and promise. Rowing teams glided past, their oars cutting through the morning mist in perfect synchronization. A new day. A new beginning. But sometimes, in the quiet moments between meetings or in the soft darkness before sleep, I remember how it felt to dismantle someone's life piece by piece. The cold satisfaction of watching her world collapse. The precise execution of a plan that left no room for mercy. And I wonder, not about Sarah, not anymore, but about myself. About how easily I transformed from a trusting husband into someone capable of such calculated destruction. About whether that change is permanent. They say revenge is a dish best served cold. What they don't tell you is how that coldness seeps into your bones, becoming part of who you are. I've started seeing someone new. Her name is Rachel, and she teaches at MIT. She's brilliant and kind and completely different from Sarah. She leaves her phone face up on the table without thinking twice. She introduces me to her colleagues without hesitation. Her laughter is genuine, her affection unconditional. But sometimes I catch myself watching her, looking for signs. A delayed response to a text. A work meeting that runs late. A weekend conference that takes her out of town. Trust, once broken, is like a mirror. You can glue the pieces back together, but you'll always see the cracks. Sarah's final message to me was a handwritten note, left with her set of house keys. "I'm sorry I ruined everything," she wrote. "I hope someday you'll forgive me." I keep the note in my desk drawer, next to her old phone. Not because I'm waiting to forgive her, but to remind myself of an important truth: sometimes the greatest revenge isn't in destroying someone else's life. It's in rebuilding your own, stronger than before, while they watch from the shadows of their own mistakes. Rachel knows nothing about Sarah. About what happened. About what I did. When she asks about my divorce, I give her the simplified version: it didn't work out. She deserves a clean slate, not the weight of my past. But sometimes I wonder if I'm being fair to her. If by protecting her from my history, I'm just creating another kind of deception. Last week, I saw Mark at a tech conference in the seaport. He was a keynote speaker, talking about digital marketing innovation. The irony wasn't lost on me. Here was a man who couldn't innovate his way out of an affair, lecturing about strategic thinking. He saw me in the crowd during his presentation. His words stumbled for a moment, his confidence cracking like thin ice. I just sat there, expression neutral, watching him squirm. He left immediately after his speech, skipping the networking reception. I stayed, enjoying my coffee and the harbor view. That evening, I received a LinkedIn message from him. "Robert, I know it's been a while. I think we should talk." I left it unread. What would be the point? To hear his justifications? His apologies? To listen to him explain how he'd learned his lesson, how he was a changed man? Some conversations are better left in drafts. The marketing world is small in Boston. I still hear things. Sarah's new agency in Providence is struggling, a victim of the economic downturn. She's been posting on LinkedIn more frequently, the digital equivalent of a desperate networking push. Her profile photo is older now, from her Preston and Mills days. Clinging to past glory. I could have destroyed her more completely. Could have made sure she never worked in marketing again. Could have exposed every detail of her affair to every potential employer. But there's a certain satisfaction in knowing she did most of the damage herself. My revenge just opened the door, she walked through it on her own. Rachel and I are moving in together next month. She's giving up her cramped apartment in Central Square for my Back Bay condo. Last night, as we sorted through her books, deciding what to keep and what to donate, she found an old photo that had slipped behind her bookshelf. "Who's this?" she asked, studying the image of Sarah and me at our wedding. I took the photo, looked at those smiling faces, at the love and promise we thought would last forever. "Someone I used to know," I said, and dropped the photo in the trash. Rachel didn't press for more. It's one of the things I love about her: she understands boundaries, respects the parts of me that aren't ready to be shared. Later that night, lying awake while she slept beside me, I thought about karma. About how Sarah's carefully constructed betrayal had backfired so spectacularly. About how my own calculated revenge had changed me in ways I'm still discovering. They say time heals all wounds. But that's not quite true. Time doesn't heal, it transforms. The pain becomes purpose. The betrayal becomes wisdom. The revenge becomes a reminder: trust, once given freely, must now be earned carefully. Tomorrow, Rachel and I are having dinner with her parents. They're flying in from Chicago, eager to meet the man their daughter has been talking about. They'll ask about my past, about my work, about my plans for the future. I'll tell them the truth, most of it. About my software company, about my hopes, about how their daughter has brought light back into my life. But I won't tell them about the cold satisfaction I felt watching someone's world burn. About the precise, methodical way I orchestrated a downfall. About how revenge, when served at the right temperature, can taste like justice. Some stories are better left untold. Sarah's life continues to unravel, one small thread at a time. Last month, I heard she had to sell her car to make rent. The karmic wheel turns slowly, but it turns inevitably. Meanwhile, I'm building something new. Something real. Something based on honesty and trust, or at least, as much honesty as I'm capable of now. Rachel deserves that much. She deserves everything Sarah couldn't be. And maybe that's the final piece of my revenge, not just surviving the betrayal, but thriving despite it. Not just moving on, but moving up. Creating a life so full and rich that Sarah's betrayal becomes nothing more than a footnote in my story. A cautionary tale. A lesson learned. A battle scar that reminds me, sometimes the best revenge isn't in the destruction you cause, but in the life you build from the ashes of what was destroyed. Last night, Rachel asked me about children. We were walking along Newbury Street after dinner at Stephanie's, the autumn wind carrying the scent of fallen leaves and possibility. She squeezed my hand, looked up at me with those honest brown eyes, and asked if I'd ever thought about having kids. The question hit me like a punch to the gut. Sarah and I had it all planned out. 2 kids, maybe 3. A boy and a girl. We'd even picked out names, Emily for a girl, after my grandmother. James for a boy, after her father. The house in Cambridge had a nursery in waiting, a sunny room we'd left deliberately empty, saving it for our future family. Now that room belongs to strangers, and those names belong to children who will never exist. I told Rachel I needed time to think about it. She understood, or said she did. But I saw the flicker of uncertainty in her eyes, the same look I sometimes catch in the mirror when I wonder if I'll ever truly be ready to trust again. That night, I dreamed about Sarah. Not the Sarah who betrayed me, but the Sarah I first met at that charity gala. The one who laughed at my terrible jokes and dreamed of changing the world through innovative marketing campaigns. The one who used to leave post-it notes with hand-drawn hearts in my laptop bag. I woke up feeling hollow, reaching for memories that no longer served any purpose except to remind me of what was lost. Over breakfast, I checked my email and found a message from an unfamiliar address. The subject line made my coffee turn bitter in my mouth, from Sarah. Dear Robert, it began. I know you probably won't read this, and I don't blame you. But I need to say something, even if it's just to the void. I saw you and Rachel last weekend at the MFA. You didn't see me, I was sitting in the cafe when you walked past. She looks at you the way I used to, before I forgot what mattered. Before I traded everything real for something that was never going to last. You look happy. You deserve to be happy. I know now that what I did wasn't just a betrayal of our marriage, it was a betrayal of who I was supposed to be. Of who we were together. Mark reached out recently. He wanted to reconnect. I blocked his number. Some mistakes don't deserve a second chance. I'm moving to Seattle next month. Fresh start, they say. As if starting over erases what came before. But at least there, I won't have to walk past our old house. Won't have to avoid certain restaurants or worry about running into you at Whole Foods. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't even want it anymore. I just want you to know that losing you, losing us, taught me more about love than having you ever did. I understand now what it means to cherish something. I just understood it too late. Be happy, Robert. Be happy with her in all the ways I should have been happy with you. Sarah. I stared at the screen for a long time, watching the cursor blink like a heartbeat. Then I clicked delete. Some chapters need to stay closed. That evening, Rachel and I walked along the Charles River at sunset. Harvard's red brick buildings glowed in the dying light, and crew teams skimmed across the water like water striders. Everything felt possible and fragile at the same time. About what you asked, I said, watching a pair of ducks navigate the current. About kids. She tensed slightly beside me, preparing herself for whatever came next. I want them, I said. With you. But I need you to know who I am first. All of it. So I told her. Everything. About Sarah, about the affair, about my revenge. About how I'd orchestrated the perfect destruction of someone I once loved. About how it had changed me, hardened me, taught me that love and cruelty sometimes live in the same heart. Rachel listened without interrupting, her hand steady in mine. When I finished, she was quiet for a long moment, watching the river flow past. "Thank you," she finally said. "For what?" "For trusting me with the truth." We stood there as darkness settled over Boston, as lights began twinkling on in windows across the river, as the future stretched out before us like the water, deep, unknown, but full of possibility. Maybe that's the real ending to this story. Not the revenge, not the destruction, not even the rebuilding. But this moment, standing with someone who knows the darkest parts of me and chooses to stay anyway. Sarah's email sits in my trash folder, unread messages slowly counting down to permanent deletion. In 30 days, it will vanish completely, like so many other things I once thought would last forever. But right now, Rachel's hand is warm in mine, and somewhere in the gathering darkness, a duck calls out to its mate. Life goes on. Love continues. And revenge, in the end, is just another word for letting go.